Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Piplup Farms channel. My name is Ian, and it's been 5 years since I've posted a video on here. And of course, today I am joined by the one, the only, Dorian.
Yeah, Dorian, Ian number 2, except a door in front of it. So it's different.
It's slightly different.
Yeah, blacker too. Did you notice that?
I couldn't tell.
Okay. It's the lighting, guys. That's really all it is.
Is it the hair?
Yeah. Yeah, this is actually, he was going to pull this off, but, you know, we ain't had the time to get ready, you know, so he had to rock with this.
It's been 5 years. 5 years since we made a video. People might not even recognize you. Me, on the other hand, I kind of look the same, so, you know.
He's Ian. So you're wearing a Zelda shirt now. That's different.
Not a Pokemon shirt. It's a Zelda shirt, but even though we're talking about Pokemon.
We're off-brand. I got Hunter x Hunter, bro. Like, seriously.
I still got the Nintendo brand, you know, going.
I was going to do that, but I like this shirt.
kind of go with whatever. What's been new with you for the last 5 years?
Jeez, man. So much. You probably don't know how much time you got, you know? I have this thing where I don't know how to finish games, right? And the last time it had been, I can't remember how long it was since the last game was released before we were making a video about, was that Sun and Moon? Was it?
That was Sun and Moon.
Okay, so that was still the DS, right? So we're in a whole different era right now. And I didn't finish the game. I was on Gym 5 when we made that video. And let me see.
Guess where he is now? Guess where he is now in the newer game?
So we're going Sword and Shield now. Now, mind you, I haven't beaten it. I actually still am on Gym 5 now. And I thought I swear, I thought it was at least Gym 6. I told him 6 badges when we talked about this earlier.
And then we pulled up his save file, and it was only 5 badges. And I was like, man, this truly has been 5 years. You take the new game, and you still only make it to 5 gyms. It's been 5 years since we've posted a video. Now, of course, a lot has changed in those 5 years. And so we're about to go in. His hair, his physique.
Yeah. Just so you guys know, like, you might not watch that old video, but it's. I'm gonna go ahead and look. I still look. I actually look pretty fat in this right now, but it's a huge difference. And also, I got less of a beard now. See that?
Yeah, he's not puffed out.
Yeah. That was ridiculous, bro. I don't know who the fuck that was in that last video. That was like a fucking body double.
That was not him. Apparently.
Yeah.
But
not
5 years has changed a lot, even though the gameplay in which Dorian plays Pokemon has not changed whatsoever. Everything else has.
So maybe it really was me.
It's 100%. I think that overall our experience has been pretty fun with Pokemon over the years. And, you know, he hasn't played as much, but hopefully these new games kind of bring out that passion in him. Because ironically, the person who got me back into Pokemon after years of not playing Pokemon was this man right here. I was a Gen 1er. For a long time, I was a Gen 1er.
Most people are.
We're going to go into a little bit more about the games that came after Sun and Moon, because that was our focus on the last video, was Sun and Moon, and our expectations, what we wanted to see in that game, the starters that we wanted to pick. And so we're going to kind of go in a little bit more in detail about the games that came afterwards, leading up to Scarlet and Violet. The thing I would say about Ultra Sun and Moon was that it came out a year after Sun and Moon. People felt like they didn't want to play the whole game again. And while it was a slightly different story that kind of sucked compared to the first story, you were still handheld throughout the whole game. It was still a very long process to get from point A to point B. I think it's a great story in terms of, like, it's storytelling, but a lot of people fail to get to the story and get through those parts because they're just like, look, I just want to be able to explore, I want to be able to get some Pokemon, I want to be able to do this. You're telling me I have to go here, specifically. I can't exit, I can't do stuff. And that's what HMs were for in the original games, but you never felt as much in the first games of not being able to do certain things as you do in Sun and Moon. And ironically, that was the generation they got rid of HMs. But you still had, like, you had to get the Tauros to be able to break the boulders to get past the thing. So HMs are hypothetically still there in just a different format. That stopped your progression. That's what I had to say about Ultra Sun and Moon. High praise, no. But, I mean, like I said, I never got to Rainbow Rocket. I heard a lot of people liked Rainbow Rocket. and would love to see that like type of feature of being able to battle all your old enemy groups again, or at least the bosses again, in a post game thing.
It's a boss rush.
Yeah. So I mean, like, and the story was pretty good for that, but it's just it was a little too late for that, and that's why Ultra Sun and Moon will probably get more discredit than what they could have been had they just been a DLC versus a whole new game. First game to be put on the Switch. Now, with these games, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, they were sectioned for a completely different audience. It was to bring back the people who got into Pokemon Go. They thought, like, hey, we have this audience, these people that we want to retain. They loved our mobile app. Let's give them a game for the Switch that could be the same. You throw a Pokeball at a Pokemon. They weren't thinking of the hardcore fans as much. They were thinking more of just getting these new fans, which, trust me, I understand. One of the big things about Pokemon Let's Go and Pikachu and Eevee is this is the first games on the Switch. This was the first opportunity to see what Pokemon could do on a main series console, not on a handheld. Just as itself on the big screens. The downside to Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee to me, and I think a lot of people would agree, is the fact that you had to use either the Pokeball Plus or the nunchucks to throw the ball, when drift and everything was a pain.
Oh,
let
Lord.
me use the Pro Controller, alright? The fact that, like, in Pokemon Go, at least if you had to hit the Pokemon and then it breaks out and runs. You can't just miss the Pokemon and it runs. It will stay until you hit the Pokemon, at least, and it breaks out. In this game, however, you stay idle too long, the Pokemon flees.
Yeah, he's out of there.
You throw a berry, the Pokemon flees.
I'm not gonna lie, I hated that so much.
So, with all that being said, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, while it did bring things like overworld shinies to the game, which I think a lot of people were happy about, being able to play Kanto again for the umpteenth time, going through Kanto on 3D, that was a cool experience, don't get me wrong. Being able to see these gym leaders again, go back to the nostalgia that was Gen 1.
It wasn't really a Pokemon game, really, was it? Like, it was, but like a more condensed version.
It was a mixture of Pokemon Go and the main series games.
Diet Pokemon.
I'm not saying anything wrong with them. I do have fun playing them, but they're not like my top choice for a Pokemon game, right? Like they're not ones that, like, of course, when I go do my decks for Kanto, this is going to be the best way for me to get my Kanto Pokemon and get all 150. I already got the Mew from the thing, so that'll be 151. And it's fun though, shiny hunting, and shiny hunting is fun and makes it plausible to get all 150 shiny in that game pretty easy. Like, the legendary is a little bit harder because you have a soft reset for them, but overall, most of the stuff you can get a shiny faster than most other Pokemon games.
Well, see, I didn't play Pokemon Let's Go. Even I was playing Pokemon Go. I felt like part of me really wanted to play it, just because of the fact that, hey, obviously I grew up with Gen 1, so it seemed like a no-brainer. But I think the main issue with that game is that they just kind of feel like it was a game that they needed to make at the time when there wasn't a Pokemon game on the Switch. They wanted something that was going to help them build on the momentum of Pokemon Go, and they weren't ready to bring out the next new version of Pokemon. So you kind of got this as like a tied over game, So, but I feel like as soon as the other game was going to release, it was going to automatically just depreciate the value of those games. Who plays those now? It's like you would probably buy that for a kid. Like, your grandma might go to a store like, oh, my sonny boy will love this one. Little Ian will love this game. And then, you get it and the kid will be like, for a kid that don't know nothing about Pokemon, it's going to be fantastic. But, your grandma goes to the store, brings that back, then you go and look at her like she just, like her head just exploded. Ain't no damn way. It's it's not the real Pokemon game, you know what I mean? But for the time that it came out, it was a well-timed release. But now it's just where does it fit? It really doesn't. And I think that's what the main problem is.
And those are things that, I think people for years will be like, well, what happened to Let's Go Johto? What's going on? And I'm going to say that people still had fun with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Sure. It was a fun game. It was definitely a holdover game for their next title for the series.
Your girlfriend wanted to play it too. Well, if we had those, they would be
And, it was a fun game to play. It was a fun game to get back into the series. And I think that it did help with getting people back into the series, being able to see overworld Pokemon for the first time in a game.
Yeah.
3D. You didn't get to see that in Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon. People were like, oh my god, what would happen? Like, if this happened, like, overworld Pokemon, instead of going into a grass and just random exclamation point.
You see them. They're there. You don't have to worry about this. I'm just walking along, all of a sudden you have like a seizure or something, and then there's a Pokemon in front of you. Whatever happens in random battles, I'm not sure what. But yeah, I thought that was the best part of that experience. Again, I didn't play it, but I saw exactly how it went. You want to be able to feel like you're hunting the Pokemon, because that's really what you're doing.
That's what you're doing. And you'd be able to kind of figure out, of course, battling, not getting a lot of XP from battling, and then not being able to battle a lot of Pokemon. A lot of people took, like, oh my god, that's stupid.
You just catch it.
But it really was for that generation, for that specific audience, to get people back in.
It was early on.
That being the first game for the Switch, this next game that came out for the Switch may be controversial in a lot of different ways, is Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now,
where's the controversy come from, Ian?
The controversy comes from Dexit. Dexit is a big thing.
Like Brexit?
Like Brexit, but it's Pokemon. If you never,
I haven't heard of this shit, so I don't know.
So it's called Dexit, right? So they were announced that not all your favorite Pokemon in every game, other than Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which is only pertained to the original 151 Pokemon, and technically 153 because you could tap Meltan and Melmetal, the new Pokemon Go transferred over there. Anyways, which is weird because you can transfer Meltan over there, and you can never transfer it back to Go.
It's gone.
And the problem is, you can never evolve Meltan into Melmetal unless you do it in Go. So
how could you? If you got the Meltan, you have to go get another one.
You have to get another one and evolve into Melmetal before moving it over to the game. Backwards thinking, we can't ever put stuff back into Pokemon Go. Same with Home now. You transfer something from Pokemon Go into Pokemon Home.
It's in there.
It costs a lot of money if you feel like trying to transfer everything, because it only lets you transfer like 5 shinies a day. It only lets you for a week actually. Like it takes your power down and stuff like that. Legendaries. 1 shiny legendary you can transfer for a week. Ridiculous constraints and stuff like that. Now in Let's Go, if you was one of the original 151, you could just transfer as many as you want over to Let's Go, but that's only the original 151. So if anything beyond the original 151, you can't do that.
Honestly though, that's more of a mechanism of the mobile game format, because they want to force you to keep playing it as much as possible. So in order to get you to log in, they're going to restrict you. So you can't go do it. And honestly, I think the only reason that they probably would have did something different if they would have found a way to just hide it behind a paywall. So that
also, like, you think about like how the depreciation of a shiny legendary is, other than the fact that everybody hacked them at some point. In Pokemon Go, it's so easy to get a shiny legendary that you could have like 10 shiny Mewtwo's. You transfer all of them into Home in the next day. But now you can't if you wanted all 10 Mewtwo's, you're only going to be ever able to do the shiny Mewtwo's. And it would take you 10 weeks to get 10 shiny Mewtwo's over there. Yeah, that's one of those things where it's just like, well, I guess that's the thing. But Dexit was a big thing, and the reason the controversy happened so much in Sword and Shield, and to a point where a lot of people did not buy the games, was because Game Freak used the excuse that the graphics, for them to make a game with great graphics, they can never put all the Pokemon, at that point I think 751 or something like that, into the game. The sprites would be overloading for the game. They would never be able to have all that. Like I said, before that, Alola, you could transfer any of your Pokemon from Bank into Alola at that point. You could have the whole 700 some Dex entries in Alola. But Sword and Shield was the first game where they put a big thing, and then the very beginning, before the DLCs came out, the only thing you knew of was 400 Pokemon could be transferred over into the games, and then there were 2 non-Dex entry Pokemon that could be transferred over eventually, like a year later, when they introduced Home for Sword and Shield. So Home never existed for Sword and Shield until a year later, and that was Bulbasaur and Squirtle, because they were not in the entry, because Charmander was part of the original 400 in Sword and Shield, because Leon's favorite Pokemon, Charizard or whatever, is famous Charizard. But Bulbasaur and Squirtle were left out of that. They would eventually, in the DLCs, but even before the DLCs, you could get Bulbasaur and Squirtle before that. But then in the DLC, they gave you a choice in the Isle of Armor. Do you want Squirtle? Do you want Bulbasaur? And we'll give you a Gigantamax version of either one of them. You know, and you got the free Charmander at the end of the game with Leon. Basically like, hey, you like my Gigantamax Charizard? Here's a Gigantamax Charmander that you can have for, you know, whatever. That was how you got Charmander in the game. With the DLCs, to me, Pokemon Sword and Shield were good games, right? It brought in the nostalgia of the Let's Go era with Pokemon in the open world and, like, you know, being able to see in the wild areas.
That was pretty cool, honestly.
But having Pokemon in the tall grass as well, people wanted the random encounters. You had a mixture of both of them in the game. The thing I don't like about the game
wild area
was the shiny encounters. You had to actually get a shiny. In order to see a shiny in the game, there's no overworld shinies. There is no overworld shinies. So
I've never caught a shiny, bro. And I tried for a while. You're just way too dedicated than me. I don't know how you do it, but I'm not sure what context
I am not
is.
like I am not a shiny hunter in any means. I can show you people who wanted that shiny starter in black and white.
We're starting over.
33,000 resets.
No.
For a Snivy.
No.
Like that took you 10 months.
No.
Like multiple hours, 10 months to get the shiny, and I would be like at that point I'd be fed up. Dexit.
Brexit, whatever. Which one?
Dexit. So,
both of them are bad.
You know, like beforehand we only had 400 Pokemon. Like I said, 400 Pokemon for the whole game. When they introduced the Isle of Armor in February and the Crown Tundra, they introduced 200 new Pokemon to the game. You have a total of like 680 Pokemon, I think. The Pokedexes are, but they don't even count the legendaries that you get in the games. So you get all the legendaries in the games through it. But that took so long, and you still left out like 300 Pokemon for people that will never be able to use maybe their favorite Pokemon. My favorite Pokemon, Piplup, is not allowed to be in that game. Now, lucky for me, the next games we're going to be talking about did include Piplup. But not everybody is so lucky to have their favorite Pokemon in those next games. But I would have loved to have it in Sword and Shield. I would have loved to be able to play Piplup, Rowlet, because you can get Rowlet and Torchic in the game in Sword and Shield. You just can't get Piplup, you know. And there's no games.
Penguins for you.
No penguin for. There was a penguin, Ice Cube, but you know.
I don't even think I got to that one.
Yep.
Is that in the ice area?
That's in the ice area, and that's in Shield version only.
I have Shield,
so
but I didn't
Sword,
know if I could see him yet.
Sword has Stonejourner, and Shield has Ice Cube, which is a penguin with an ice block.
Oh, okay, gotcha. It's like art block.
So the next games in the series that, of course, we're going to talk about are the faithful, and by faithful remakes, the faithful remakes of Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. I know, and I will probably go into a video myself detailing more information about the game and my review of the game, because I know a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers really dislike Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. They have a lot of complaints about it. And while I have my own complaints about the game themselves, I just spent 90 hours shiny hunting on this game. Spent like over almost 200 hours playing these games, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. The games themselves are the way to play Diamond and Pearl, but they aren't the way to play the Gen 4 games. Platinum will always be, with that story and the pacing, will always be the definitive way to play. Unfortunately, it's on the DS, so that doesn't really help too much. But these faithful remakes are really the reason for people to be able to go back to Sinnoh and kind of relook at Sinnoh in a lot of different ways. They had events where you could get Darkrai, you could finally get the Darkrai event in there, you could get the Shaman event in there, you could get the Manaphy egg, and then Hatch Fion. Like, there were so many events in there, but since this was made by not Game Freak, but Ilka, the ones that created Pokemon Home, it was a different style, the chibi style, which I wasn't a big fan of. The
game doesn't like anime unless it's Pokemon.
Like, the chibi styles are just like big head on it's a bobblehead basically. Like, why do I want bobbleheads in a game that should be? When you look at Oraz and Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and you look at like what they did with the remakes of those games with X and Y, how they integrated new features like Mega Evolution into that, the way that the characters still looked like you were in there, the story mode for each other kind of combined into how that worked. And I know a lot of people have problems with auras. Now, that was my first experience with Hoenn. I never played the original Hoenn games, and I still have yet to play the original Hoenn games. So I don't have that blind nostalgia for Hoenn. I don't have that like, oh, they should have done this.
Ain't a hoe for Hoenn, all right?
Ain't a hoe for Hoenn. Diamond and Pearl, those were one of the games that I picked up after getting back into Pokemon. My favorite Pokemon, Piplup, is in it. Those are games that I played, and I love Platinum to death. The story arc that made Cyrus feel like more of a villain than just a random guy that just wants to take over the world. The game pacing didn't have a huge gap from Gym 2 to Gym 3 because the Gym 5 was not in the middle. Now Gym 3 was Gym 5. So now you're not going to Hearthome City and going, oh, you're closed until I beat 2 other gyms? No, you can face Fantina as the 3rd gym leader, and it makes sense, and pacing-wise, the game's changed a lot, and we didn't get to see Platinum at all in these remakes because they were Diamond and Pearl. But they weren't really faithful in terms of the fact that, you didn't have that slow loading board when you painted a Pokemon. You didn't you have the Underground now where you can catch Pokemon that weren't in the decks. Like, back then, Diamond and Pearl, only fire Pokemon you could get was Chimchar or Ponyta. And I didn't care.
I forgot about that.
But you know what? Now you get Houndoom in the beginning of the game on the Underground. Brilliant Diamond and Shine Pearl is still a fun game to me. I know a lot of YouTubers don't play it. I know a lot of people didn't go back to it. But I like the Poke Radar. I know that the Poke Radar is not the greatest thing in the world. It gets frustrating at times, but it's fun. I got 4 tiny Tyrogues today. You'll see that video on the Transfer Kings channel at some point. My reaction to this getting to shine 4 shiny Tyrogues. This has been memorable. Like, I've been able to play that game now, and I'm going to play my Dream Team quest, which I guess isn't really my Dream Team, because my Dream Team would probably have Garchomp and Lucario in it. I'm playing with Pokemon that I haven't played before. Spiritomb,
giving it some things to try.
And I love the shiny. Like, I love shiny Ursaring, the green Ursaring. I love Manectric, the black and yellow. I love Cranidos, and I can eventually hatch it. Red. A lot of good shinies. Spiritomb is phenomenal shiny. I will have a video eventually of my top 11 shiny Pokemon of all time. So beware, that will be on this channel at some point. I wanted to do this video first.
Beware.
Beware.
We gotta be scared of this shit. And also, wait, there's a Pokemon called Beware, so it kind of works, doesn't it?
Exactly. I will probably have a review on Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shine Pearl because I can go into it for a long time. I know you haven't played Brilliant Diamond and Shine Pearl. I think this is something that eventually you would want to play. I think you'll like it.
Except you don't like the chibi.
I do not like the chibi.
You do not like the big hits.
I do not like the chibi. But
at least you know what chibi is. That's something.
That's something. I mean, my reaction to that, like that Pokemon Direct when they introduced, like, and everybody's like, like they had how hyped, like 2001, blah, 2000 this, blah, 2006, Diamond and Pearl, and it broke on Diamond and Pearl, and everybody's like, oh my god, we're getting the remake, we're finally getting the remakes of Diamond and Pearl, and the first thing they showed up was a chibi style, and we're just like...
He was not a fan.
Legends Arceus. Now, this game is probably, I guess controversial, but not so much. It got well received for...
I heard it was pretty good. Everybody keeps telling me to get it. You included, but...
Yeah. So Legends Arceus, graphics, we aren't pushing the boundaries of graphics. Pokemon games are never pushing the boundaries of graphics.
I think it looks good, though.
It's alright. It's better than when it first got aired in Pokemon Day back in 2020. This game...
It's a good pandemic game.
Yeah, this game came out in January, my birthday month. Literally, it was like my birthday present to me. I took off, played this game.
I love doing that.
It was my birthday as well, so came out the 27th. My birthday's on the 30th. I was like, all right, we're gonna be playing Legends Arceus, and I played over 400 hours of this game in different save files. I have different reasons to play different things. The game itself, I would say from January to about April. That's the only game I played. Then I stopped playing for a long time. And then I picked it back up in about September. Now, I've kind of gone hard now with Brilliant Diamond Shine Pearl, but I get in those moments. Like, there's certain games that I kind of get into.
Yeah, of course. We all go through the spells.
But Arceus is something I can come back to. It is by far the best shiny hunting game out there. The overworld shinies, when you hear that, like you hear that shiny sound, you're like, where is it? Where is it? You go looking around, you're like, is that a shiny Whirlpool? That's a shiny Whirlpool. That's a purple Whirlpool. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
The shinies in the game look phenomenal. Yeah, the gameplay is kind of a trope. Like, you go over, you defeat the certain Pokemon, you throw food sacks at it or whatever, you get blamed for the whole thing, you're a time traveler, whatever it may be. that people dislike or like about it.
You're a time traveler.
You're a time traveler.
I'm so confused. It's a time travel game?
So you get sent back into the past.
You get sent? Are you serious?
So you...
I'm so mad. I didn't know that.
Are either Dawn or Lucas, basically, of the... they don't really say that you're Lucas or Dawn, but you're basically Lucas or Dawn, and whoever you don't pick is their ancestors, Rai or Kai or whatever. And, like...
How do you get sent back?
Arceus.
Oh, Lord. Okay, got you.
So,
alright, Pokemon God?
Yep, the Pokemon God. If there's anything... So, thing I would say about this game, there's only 242 Pokemon in the dex. Out of 242. Out of the 242 Pokemon, you can only get 224 of those Pokemon, Alpha or Shiny. The Alphas are the big Pokemon, the new species things, but you can't get any of the Legendaries or Mythicals, Alpha, and you can't get any of the Mythical or Legendaries, they're all Shiny locked as well. So you cannot hunt Arceus, but you can hunt Arceus, which I will be doing eventually, in Brilliant Diamond Shiny Pro. Now, a lot of people did not like the fact that the only way to get Arceus in the games of Brilliant Diamond Shiny Pro is you have to have beat and caught Arceus in Legend Arceus on the same save file as your Brilliant Diamond Shiny Pro in order to get the Azor Flute in your room to be able to get Arceus. But you can go Shiny Hunt Arceus in Brilliant Diamond Shiny Pro. You can Shiny Hunt Shaman. I'm going to be doing that too because I don't have a Shiny Shaman. You can Shiny Hunt Manaphy. That's the only legendary you can. But I did get a Shiny Fion from hatching for Manaphy. You can Shiny Hunt Darkrai. But Legends Arceus as a game was a good game. Is it the best game? Some people say yes. I'd like the mechanics of Legends Arceus where if you got to use the Pro Controller and catch Pokemon, just go behind, sneak up, and throw a Pokeball at it, and bam! Or throw a Sticky Glob at it, and then hit it, and catch it. Like, that was a really cool feature that we're not bringing back in Scarlet and Violet. But those are things that I really liked. Lore-based, I know a lot of people were getting into the lore of, like, this person's related to this, and then that was the problem to me, because I was like, why does everybody have to be related to somebody in the modern day? Like, I get, there's certain lore, but, like, why does every single character have to tie in with someone?
Because they just needed to do that so that you could feel like it's part of a greater universe.
But it's and why are you calling it Hisui over? Like, there are certain things about it where I'm just like, what? Why? But overall, I enjoyed the game. So those are the recent games that have come out since we've produced our last video 5 years ago. Our only video on the channel. This was our experiences of the games coming up to the new game. We're going to talk about the new games, our predictions of what's going to happen, what we want in the games, and we're going to talk about our favorite games in the next episode. Stay tuned for that. Until next time, peace!